today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A look into most valuable promotions is promotion of Amanda Serrano and what she's had to say about it. When Jake Paul and Nakisa Badarian, who was previously the CFO of the UFC, founded MVP in 2021, one of the main goals was to ensure that fighters were paid fairly. With that in mind, the company signed Puerto Rican superstar Amanda Serrano, who Jake Paul says might be one of the best fighters, male or female, in history. She was getting $5,000 per fight, and that didn't seem fair. I really wanted to help her, Jake Paul said.
And he has.
Amanda Serrano debuted as a professional in March of 2009, and this is well before any of the major promotional outfits actually took an interest in women's boxing and women boxers, long before the money showed up, and the renaissance that we've been seeing in recent years.
There was no money in the sport at that time.
When I wasn't with Jake Paul every other day, I was retired, Serrano told CNN Sport. There were no benefits out of boxing. I just did it for the love of the sport. Even being a 7-division world champion, I wasn't making anything. The 36-year-old Serrano has earned world titles across 7 weight classes during her career. In recent years, she has made history by twice fighting Ireland's Katie Taylor in what were 2 of the most scintillating bouts in boxing history. The rematch was on the undercard for Paul's fight against Mike Tyson last year, and it stole the show, with Taylor winning by unanimous decision in a controversial bout. For her part, Serrano says it was life-changing. It was a life-changing decision to sign with MVP, and refers to Badarian's promise to make her a millionaire within 1 year of signing. He lied, Serrano jokes with CNN. He made me a millionaire within 6 to 8 months of signing. Badarian lied. He told me I'd be a millionaire in a year, and it was less than that.
It's not an exaggeration that for a number of years, Amanda Serrano was making no more than $5,000 a fight.
Peanuts on the dollar for what is a physically demanding and very jealous sport. You talk about a labor of love.
Remember, she debuted in 2009.
I want to say that Matchroom had a big hand in popularizing women's boxing through their promotion of Katie Taylor and some other fighters that they decided to sign.
Katie Taylor, having won gold in the Emmys, came into the paid ranks already having a massive following.
And it helped that she was fighting on Anthony Joshua's undercards. It was very popular at the time, and he as well had a massive following coming out of the amateurs into the pros. So this is what helped to shape the current landscape you see today to where it's normalized.
There are more women boxers boxing on more boxing shows now than there ever were in the past, and that's a big part of it, the success that Matchroom had in promoting Katie.
But for many of the American-based fighters, like Amanda Serrano, there was still a lot more work that needed doing. They still weren't making very much per fight.
Many still aren't.
Enter Jake Paul and Nakisa Badarian with MVP that are continuing the effort to promote these female athletes in such a way that provide that many more opportunities for that many more diverse fighters, whether you're talking about Puerto Rico's own Amanda Serrano or Crystal Rosado, Canada's own Tamara Thibault,
Jade Green.
It's my understanding that MVP means to sign more female fighters moving forward to provide them that many more opportunities and expose them to a casual audience, because Jake Paul's fans are not your conventional boxing fans. It's not your conventional audience, which is good in its own way, branching outside of the boxing bubble.
Your conventional boxing audience can only get you so far.
Especially in America, sometimes it pays to be a little bit unorthodox. It pays to be a bit unconventional.
There's money in it.
And opportunities. Now, Amanda Serrano is a multimillionaire with high-profile sponsorships and endorsements, other arms of revenue besides her fight purse and what she makes for a fight.
I mean, she could retire right now. Financially, she's set.
She doesn't actually need to box anymore. One of the feel-good stories in the world of pugilism, that after so many years of being underpaid and underappreciated, she's finally being put in the light that she should be.
Making the money she should be.
Paid accordingly, that if you are a top athlete in the sport, in your sport, you should be paid like it. And Amanda Serrano is. So this is what most valuable promotions can do for these other women fighters that are coming through, like young Crystal Rosado, like Tamara Thibault.
Branding, promotion,
and exposure to a casual audience. Not just your conventional boxing fans, but the casuals too.
That's where the real money is.
Some within the boxing sphere were not welcoming of Jake Paul and his endeavor into this world where I say, this guy's done a lot of good.
Shit, I hope MVP signs even more fighters.
In men's lightweight news, video footage of Floyd Schofield back in the gym has surfaced via his own Instagram stories, which has given rise to a lot of talk.
Looks like he made a miraculous recovery, where last week he was seemingly on his deathbed, reportedly poisoned, according to his father.
He's made a miraculous recovery, right on time to not fight Shakur Stevenson. How about that?
American fighters.
If you are a regular subscriber to this channel, you'll know that I say it all the time. When you're talking about American boxing and American boxers, you must be talking about fights that aren't happening, like the fight between Floyd and Shakur. That didn't happen. That's going to dominate the conversation. That's going to be the centerpiece, because wherever there's a proliferation of American fighters, that's where the fights aren't happening.
Like the lightweight division?
It's all American boxers are good for these days. The only service they provide the sport of boxing now is giving the content creators something to make videos about.
Not actual fights, at least not the ones that the paying public is asking for.
But the discord and the drama, the gossips and the rumors.
Not the fights.
Well, you can make a fight between an American national and an Uzbek, an American national and Britain.
Guy from England.
But the bigger fights and the meaningful ones, and we all know which fights those are, it's too damn difficult to get two Americans to come to the table and make a fight. It took 5 years to get Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. to fight each other.
Too long.
So when I think about that and I think about this, not that the Floyd Schofield fight was a big fight for Shakur Stevenson. It wasn't. The common denominator is when you're dealing with more than one American fighter.
Fight's likely not going to happen.
If you doubt my rationale, my only question is, now that Floyd Schofield seems to have made a full recovery, is he gonna look to reschedule the Shakur Stevenson fight?
Now that he's all better and his father has taken back all the baseless accusations he's made?
Because they wanted to fight Shakur so bad. Since you're feeling better, do you want to reschedule that fight now, or
I'm bored.
I'm bored with American fighters, I'll be honest with you. Most of what gets my juices going in the sport of boxing doesn't even really involve American fighters. Some of the very best fights this weekend didn't involve a single American.
American boxing scene is getting bored.
Callum Smith versus Joshua Buatsi was two Brits. Agit Kabayel versus Zhilei Zhang was a German and a Chinaman.
Parker versus Bacoli.
One guy's from New Zealand, the other's from the Democratic Republic of the Congo in the main event.
Two Russian nationals.
And all I see is that American fighters need not apply. They are no longer necessary to deliver big-time boxing, top-tier boxing matches on a top-tier show.
You guys don't want to fight? Then don't.
After a while, you lose interest from having to wait for so long.
The money for a Stevenson versus Davis fight is right there.
And what's being revealed is that Gervonta would rather stay in America fighting for peanuts on the dollar against opponents nobody's asking him to fight.
Nobody thinks stand a chance.
And what are grossly overpriced pay-per-views. Veteran Showtime commentator Al Bernstein said as much. Even he had to admit it. He said, I seldom comment on things like this, but you have a very good point. The main event is not very competitive. Yes, there are some good fights on the undercard, but really, this is a good Showtime card that we would have been free to subscribers a couple of years ago. It is not an $80 value, especially when this past weekend there was a monstrously good pay-per-view card for only $26.
There you have it.
It's where the American boxing scene is. So when I see that Floyd Schofield, the Monday after the weekend he was supposed to fight, he's made this miraculous recovery, all I see is another American time waster.
There are still good fighters out there in the American boxing scene. The problem is enough of them aren't fighting each other. You have to twist their arm just to bring them to the table. And it's not supposed to be that way.
People in boxing seem to forget is that this is supposed to be entertainment. This is supposed to be entertaining for the people you hope pay for it, the people you hope pay attention. After a while...
What's to pay attention to? Gervonta's fighting another overmatched opponent. Nobody wants to fight Shakur.
It's the same old shit. Same old talking points, same old content creators making the same old videos about the same thing.
Who even cares anymore?
It's getting to a point to where you basically have to beg these guys to do their job. You have to beg them to fight each other. And if you have to do that...
Well, I guess they don't want to fight. And if they don't want to fight, why should I want to see it?
Who cares?
With Bagachok fight on December, I sick, very sick. And then we are, before fight, Virgil Ortiz, two weeks ago, we are going to doctor. Doctor says you sick, no, yeah, no ready for fight. It's 100%, and we are don't want cancel fight because it's big card. I want show big fight because I don't like it this work. My job this work. Because Alhamdulillah, I worked 12 rounds, and then maybe if rematch, come back again stronger.
Boxing insider Rick Glacier reacted to Israel Madrimov's recent comments that he was feeling under the weather going into this weekend's fight. He said, Israel Madrimov is now caught in no man's land. The luster is off with 2 losses in a row, is too good to use as an opponent versus most contenders, has an ugly, unappealing style, plus his promoter Eddie Hearn will probably cut him loose, as Eddie isn't going to build a guy back up that can't sell a ticket, and that no one wants to fight. That's boxing.
That's harsh.
But I don't think Rick is completely off base. No, Israel Madrimov is good enough at what he does that he's a hot potato. He's a high-risk, low-reward opponent. Even though Virgil beat him, everybody ain't Virgil. Even though Terrence beat him, everybody ain't Terrence.
This ain't the kind of guy you just fight because you need somebody to fight.
I think the silver lining for Israel is that even if Eddie Hearn can't find use for him, maybe Turkey LL Sheikh can.
You know that Martin Bakole got knocked out in 2 rounds this weekend, and Turkey has ensured that he's gonna bring him back.
When Zhilei Zhang lost to Joseph Parker, Turkey LL Sheikh brought him back.
When Deontay Wilder lost to Joseph Parker, Turkey brought him back.
So there's still a chance that His Excellency may find use for this fighter, this former champion, where perhaps Eddie Hearn has none at this point in the juncture.
Against who?
Well, initially they were supposed to fight Sergey Bohachuk, then Virgil Ortiz, but we all know he pulled out of the Sergey fight, so maybe they can reschedule it. Maybe they can put him in there with IBF champion Bakram Murtazaliev. I don't see many, if any, fighters piping up and looking for a fight with Bakram.
Maybe.
What about Israel Madrimov saying that he was under the weather, that he was feeling sick going into this weekend's fight?
I don't presume to be a mind reader. I don't know if he's telling the truth or if he's making excuses, but what I do know is that after a fight, nobody really wants to hear that because you accept the responsibility of whatever happens once you sign on. So if you signed on and you weren't feeling well,
It just is what it is.
tough business and a tough day at the office.
What has given rise to a lot of who did it better conversations. Who did it better, Terrence Crawford or Virgil Ortiz, since Israel is a common opponent between them. Veteran content creator Brendan Taylor said, Terrence Crawford struggling to beat Madrimov was always an indicator on how he isn't the same guy at 154 that he was at 147. Thank you, Virgil Ortiz, for exposing the truth to the ignorant masses. Canelo is going to retire Terrence Crawford when they fight. Y'all have overrated Bud.
This kid has some horrible boxing takes.
I mean, I do think Terrence Crawford will retire after the Canelo-Alvarez fight, win or lose. But conflating that with the Israel Madrimov fight and that performance...
Did Virgil Ortiz really beat him better than Terrence?
I wouldn't say that, but let's start with the circumstances at which each fight was fought. When Terrence went into the Israel Madrimov fight, that was his very first fight at junior middleweight, his first fight.
Where that was Virgil's 4th.
Going into the Madrimov fight, Virgil had already fought above welterweight 3 times. The Frederick Lawson fight, the Thomas Dulorme fight, and the Sergey Bohachuk fight.
He had already fought above welterweight 3 times. That was the 4th, where for Terrence, that was the 1st.
Terrence Crawford, unlike Virgil Ortiz, was coming off of a year of inactivity.
He had ring rust to shake off.
Virgil didn't. There isn't a year in between the Bohachuk fight and the Madrimov fight, not for Virgil. The Bohachuk fight was in August, and this fight was in February. That ain't 12 months.
But in between the Spence fight, which was in July of 2023, and the Madrimov fight, which was in August of 2024, that's a little over a year's time.
Try not to forget that Terrence Crawford was at his 4th weight,
In his mid-30s.
where for Virgil, that's only his 2nd, and he's in his mid-20s. And when you're evaluating a performance or performances, This ain't the kind of stuff you just gloss over, so that if you do, it's deliberate.
It's on purpose, because you're trying to paint a narrative.
The narrative being that Terrence Crawford is overrated and he has been exposed.
Because Virgil supposedly beat Madrimov better than he did. But did he?
Veteran trainer Kevin Cunningham caught my weekend recap video and he said, "I thought Ortiz took over the second half of the fight against Madrimov. He earned a hard-fought, impressive victory, but some people are saying he did it better than Terrence Crawford. I agree with IQ News. Ortiz got hit a lot more than Bud."
So if you have to get hit more to secure the victory, is that really better?
It's not to say that I'm not impressed with Virgil Ortiz's victory, because I am, but all I see are two guys who took a very different approach to fighting the same guy, and thus they won for different reasons. I don't know that one is better than the other, but what I will say is you don't want to get hit.
That's what you don't want.
So when I see people saying that Virgil beat Israel Madrimov in better fashion than Terrence in spite of getting hit more, maybe what you're rating is the entertainment value, that you enjoyed one more fight than another.
You liked it.
But that doesn't mean he actually won in better fashion. You know, I enjoyed Jose Zepeda versus Ivan Baranchyk more than I enjoyed Josh Taylor versus Ivan Baranchyk, because one fight had more action and more thrills and spills. I enjoyed one more. That was the Jose Zepeda fight. But that doesn't make Jose Zepeda a better boxer than Josh Taylor.
And that certainly doesn't mean that he won in better fashion, because he got hit more. A lot more.
I would think that securing the victory with minimal damage is what dictates who won in better fashion.
Minimal injury.
Ortiz's approach was different to Terrence's because Terrence was boxing off the back foot and setting traps, making it difficult for Israel to get within striking distance, whereas Virgil was the aggressor. He was the one coming forward, taking some shots to land some shots, which resulted in him getting hit more.
They hear it all the time, but it never registers. Styles make fights. They were both impressive wins over a really good boxer, a mover.
They were both good, but for different reasons. Tribalists can't accept that, but I try not to bother with these people.
You and your nationalism or whatever you got going on is between you and God. I don't care.
And if that is what leaves you so inclined to say that Virgil beat Israel better than Terrence by getting hit more, yeah, I don't agree with that.
I don't know by what metric you're defining what makes one victory better than the other.
Who gets punched in the face more often?